Presenting the dazzling new Desire, the best and beyond.
Nearly 470 crores spent on a Super Sunday in Saudi Arabia. We look back on day one of the IPL 2025 mega auction. Mega doesn't begin to cut the kind of records we've seen smashed on Sunday, and we're only halfway done. We revisit how all the teams have fared on auction day. ESPN Cricket for Auction Day, powered by Maruti Suzuki Arena, where we have the company of Sridhar and Sriram in our studios. Raunak Kapoor, moving left to now analyze. And we also have the company in the wee hours of morning in Perth from Tom Moody. Hello, gentlemen. It has been, and Tom, I will start with you because it's been a rather long shift, starting with the Perth test. And now, your biggest takeaways from what has been quite a frantic day one of this auction.
Yeah, well, I suppose the main takeaway is the jostling of a couple of key Indian players. We knew that there was going to be a lot of attraction around, those top few in Pant and Iyer and Ashdeep Singh. We weren't quite expecting the curveball of Venki Iyer back to KKR at an extraordinary price of just over 23 crore. But, we were expecting high prices for Pant. The other interesting one was KL Rahul, sort of only finding 14 crore, not having, I suppose, the love we expected that he may have got with a few different franchises, and more importantly, his hometown franchise, RCB, didn't seem to show a huge amount of interest in pushing his price up.
Right. Shri, when you look back at this day, what stands out?
What stands out, KKR were very keen on getting back every player that they had in the championship team. That really stood out. PBKS had a very Ricky Ponting stamp on it. And RR continued some smart buys. SRH completed their sort of batting order with Ishan Kishan and Abhinav Manohar. Their top six looks sorted. And they've got Shami and Harshal Patel and Adam Zampa and Rahul Chahar. So they're building their way. GT have almost completed their lineup. Experienced bowling attack. So that's very Ashish Nehra-like. So, yeah, each team, it's been quite predictable in a sense.
Quick headline from you.
Yeah, I think Venki Iyer has to be the biggest talking point because we can see why Shreyas went for the price he did. And that was a franchise that knew a player that will likely lead them and therefore wanted to give themselves maximum purse. So I can understand that going to anything. But Venki Iyer, and I was listening to Venki Mysore speak about it when he says that's how it plays out in the auction. Well, does it? I mean, could there have been a smarter way for you to hold on to Venki Iyer? If he's now if you're willing to spend that kind of money for him, could you not have retained him at top price and evaluated which one of Harshit or Ramandeep would go into the auction where you could have got them back on an RTM? So I think in some ways there is some kind of miscalculation. Perhaps they felt like Venki Iyer would be the least expensive player between Rinku Singh, Andre Russell, Sunil Narayan, etc. And that gamble has not paid off. To be fair, I don't want to be too harsh on KKR because I don't think even they or any of us saw this kind of price coming. But that they were willing to pay that much for him, I can't help but think he's going to lead, and he was so important to their plans that's why they had that kind of final price for him.
Yeah, he has brought up his vice captaincy with KKR in one of his comments after fetching that humongous fee. But let's start breaking it down team-wise, and let's start with Gujarat Titans, who right from the marquee set were the team who our panel were most impressed by. Tom, as you look through that squad and how they've built it, it already looks quite complete.
Yeah, it does. I think they've had a good day at the office. Gujarat, there's no question there. A lot of experience there with Rabada and Butler as a couple of early picks from an overseas standpoint. Then they've got Mohammad Siraj, who they may have probably felt they paid a little bit over the top, but still I think he's a very, fine bowler, quality Indian pace bowler. To me, it's pretty much on trend to how Vikram Solanki and Ashish Nehra have sort of operated this franchise since they have entered the league. They've been pretty shrewd with their selections, and they've just about built a side as it stands at the moment.
14 players already. A lot of them already seem like first 11 or first 12 picks, and you still have 17.5 crore.
Yeah, I think they've done well. They've got the experience in their bowling attack. They've got a good mixture of youth and experience with their batting as well. They've got the firepower. Maybe they don't have the experienced finisher that they had in David Miller. So that's something they can go for tomorrow. So Sashaf and Rutherford, Rahman Powell coming up. So they've got that one slot to fill. So that's something they'll be very keen on. If I've got to pick something out, that's only been their hole left.
Yeah, I think a revamp of what has worked for them, but a revamp of personnel. They were a strong bowling team that nearly won 2 IPLs back to back. They lost Hardik Pandya and Mohammad Shami, and I think they realized that the personnel they got to try and fill that up, it didn't quite work. Spencer Johnson, Umesh Yadav, with due respect to the fast bowlers that they relied on, including Josh Little, it didn't work. So what they've done is they've revamped a lot of their what the shape of that bowling looks like. So suddenly you're now looking at Mohammad Siraj, Kagiso Rabada, Prasidh Krishna all together. And I think that's a damn good replacement. Suddenly it looks like players you can rely on more than, say, Shami's fitness or some of the others that they have had in the past, and just throw Rashid Khan into that, and that's a very, very strong bowling lineup. They've also taken care of the Saha issue. Butler will open. Butler could possibly keep. Sai at 3. I think it's a damn good team, and they still have enough in the kitty to add to it tomorrow.
Yeah, Tom, just a final thought. As Raunak mentions, you've got your bowling unit pretty much in place. You've got a top 3, and they have retained those 2 Indian finishers, uncapped, both of them in Tewatia and Shahrukh. Can go all out, you'd imagine, for those couple of all-rounder slots?
Yes, they can do, and it's just starting to show how valuable the retention of Tewatia and Shahrukh Khan was. It's starting to really shine through now when you look at their squad. Clearly they've only got the 3 overseas players, so they need to address, what type of overseas players they want. Most of the teams still have got quite a lot of overseas slots to fill, and I'd imagine that there's a few overseas that are still left in the auction. I'll be thinking, well, there's not a lot left in the purses of a number of the franchises, so it's not going to be as big a payday as what they would have hoped.
All right, so GT, going good. Second team we focus on is Rajasthan Royals. And they were rather quiet for rather long periods of the auction before coming into life. Shri, what did you make of how Rajasthan went about day one?
Yeah, they've sort of maintained a similar structure to their bowling attack. They have almost a well-settled batting lineup. They wanted Naman at number 3, but they failed to get him because MI got him the RTM. So that number 3 Indian slot is yet to be filled. Chahal and Ashwin were a big part of their success. They've replaced them with Hasaranga and Tikshana.
Yeah.
But overseas, so they've got to change their structure, play 3 overseas bowlers and bat an Indian top 5 with Hetmeyer at 6. So that's something they'll be looking to do. Jofra Archer, they've placed their faith on, put big money, just hoping he's going to be fit and playing. They might need an overseas backup tomorrow. That's something they'll want. And yeah, they've got to find some backups as well.
Tom, when you look through what the Royals have done today, they did seem to be in the market for pretty much every bowler that came. They were the second last bids for the likes of Siraj, Ashwin, Prasidh, Avesh, Bolt, Zampa. So it is quite clear what they were looking to do. How happy would you be if you're in the Rajasthan camp right now?
I think they've still got some work to do, clearly. I quite like some of the personnel they've got, and I don't mind the 2 Sri Lankan spinners. I know that it takes up 2 overseas slots. It's certainly the combination that they've had over recent years with the 2 high-quality spinners. Jofra Archer is a good buy and that's a big if he remains fit and healthy for 14 games. But I tend to agree. I think that tomorrow is a big day with regards to just creating a couple of good buying opportunities for backup for the likes of Archer. I see the urgency around looking at an Indian number 3 not there, because I think Dhruv Jurel can actually play that role at number 3. They've still got the depth in their local batting to be able to sort that out. But I think they're in a reasonable spot, but they'll know that they've got some work to do tomorrow.
Yeah, Samson, Jaiswal, Parag, Jurel gives you an Indian batting core. what do they have to look for?
They clearly had to go for the bowlers, and the bids that they were not successful at, as well as the players they've got, tell us that that really was the plan on day one. I think it's strange to have gone for both Hasaranga and Thikshana for the kind of money you've spent at 9.65. They like their spinners. They like their reserve overseas spinner. They've had Zampa in the past. They had Keshav Maharaj last year. But those were base price buys or replacement buys, bargain buys. At 9.5 that you spend for those two, you've not replaced Avesh Khan, who's gone at 10. You've not Trent Bolt. I mean, to pick Archer over Bolt, and that played out fascinatingly because they were in some tussles with MI. Archer came first, they won it, then Bolt came second, MI won it, and it went for the same amount. But I still think they need to figure out some fast bowling in there. Sandeep Sharma is a solid piece of the squad, but he's not going to carry their bowling. And somebody has to, in the absence of Trent Bolt now. The strength of Rajasthan Royals' success over the last cycle was built on some specialist bowling. They've got two overseas spinners. That's not quite the track record of successful IPL franchises. So what they do tomorrow becomes key, and I think they will be busy with whatever sets of fast bowling there are to come. But there's work to do.
Hasaranga, a good buy in that sense, because those specialist bowlers, you often used to feel there's not enough batting there, but at least a Hasaranga, if he slots into the 11.
From what I gather from the Sunrisers last year, actually, it was hard to get Hasaranga to turn up for it. There was confusion around how keen he is to come. This is not a huge price either. So it's a challenge. I mean, if they've had a word with Hasaranga, nothing like it, and now there's a bigger penalty if you don't show up for an international player. So perhaps that'll have him coming down. I think he has a point to prove as far as the reputation he had when he went for 10 plus to RCB goes. But yeah, I mean, no team has successfully managed to field two overseas spinners is a big part of their long-term success. And if that it has to be one or the other. That's how they've picked this team.
All right, so lots to do for the Royals, who have only 11 players right now and about 17 crore that they go into auction day 2 with. Let's turn our attention to Kolkata Knight Riders, the headline makers, who are trying their best, as Shri mentioned earlier, to emulate the CSK tactic of trying to retain an entire title-winning side. Tom, first strike to you. We've obviously discussed Venkatesh Iyer and everything about that shock, but on the basis of day one, how do you find the Kolkata setup right now?
Look, they've got a reasonably good core there. There's no question, but their strategy was confusing. I think the Venkatesh Iyer pick really did throw a lot of their plans out the window. That they would have ideally have planned, had plans for going into day 2. Still, they've got a formidable lineup. When you look at that list there, there's some serious talent there. There's no question of that. But I suppose the biggest question is the captaincy. They didn't retain their captain. Their captain went for a monstrous price to Punjab. Who is going to be the captain? Maybe it is the other Iyer.
Yeah, as much as they try to retain everyone, they let go of their captain and their premier fast bowler.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the two very important slots, according to me, they goofed up a little bit.
Have to be. They're putting a lot of faith in Russell and Narayan continuing to be genuine all-rounders, something that we said on the panel a bit earlier. Nokia to fill Mitchell Stark's role with an Andrik Nokia, who might do it if he's fully on form and is fit. But this, I don't know. I don't think this would be the most satisfying night for a KKR fan. He'd be concerned about the kind of business that they've gone about today. And I think there is still work that's left to be done. They'll look for backups to Russell and Narayan tomorrow, I'm sure, even though they've picked up 5. And if Venki Iyer is indeed the captain, as Tom says, that's a first-time captain with very little captaincy experience. He doesn't even captain for MP.
No.
And therefore, that's a very interesting element of the unknown because there's no Gautam Gambhir either. So if he is indeed going to be the captain, that's for a defending champion to come up with a guy who's never captained in the IPL or doesn't captain frequently in the state. He didn't even field for most parts of the last tournament because he was an impact player. I wish him well, but it's going to be interesting times.
Tom, final word. 10 crore left to play with, which is the second lowest purse of any of the sides going into day 2. The most important areas for KKR, and will they really be able to challenge for those bids?
Yeah, well, they're going to find it difficult to challenge. They've only got just a tick over 10 crore, haven't they? They've got a couple of overseas to fill, as Raunak mentioned. They do need to to find some cover for Russell and Narine. Sort of, they're not in the prime of their career. They're sort of more towards the twilight of their career. To me, that they need to be looking for some real bargain picks. And I can't see a captain in any of those bargain picks, so they've got to find a captain within what they've got already. We did sort of tout a few weeks ago Rinku Singh as a possibility for that role. Maybe I'm sort of leaning now. Maybe it's Venkatesh Iyer, purely because of the price and the determination they had to try to secure him. That there's more sort of questions to be answered with this franchise after today than what it was at the beginning of the day.
And only the second lowest purse going into tomorrow at 10.05.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going to get even sort of an
The big
advantage
ones.
even towards the accelerated round. It's going to be tricky because they've lost experience in Stark and Iyer. And there's a lot of young players they've actually brought back. Angrish Raghuvanshi, Vaibhav Arora, Mayank Markande is there as well. So you're hoping that these young players, including Ramandeep and Harshit Rana, but without the Iyers and the Starks, and they're not going to get Nitish Rana now. It's highly unlikely they'll get Nitish Rana with 10.0.
Unless they earmark 6 out of the 10 for Nitish Rana.
Jeez, brave. I mean, they have gone with a thin squad last year.
Yeah.
They spent a lot on Stark and they went with a thin squad. They won the damn thing. So it's not inconceivable. But yeah, there's plenty of work for KKR to do.
Lots to do for the reigning champions. We turn our attention to the 5-time champions who were quite quiet for most of Sunday. Mumbai Indians took a while to even start registering bids. Tom, talk us through Mumbai's day. They end with only 4 additions to those 5 heavyweight retentions they already had.
Well, they obviously had a huge advantage coming in, having the retained Indian superstars that they've got. So they've got a huge amount of talent already, more than any other team going into the start of today. So they did have that advantage. They've still got quite a bit of their purse remaining, which I think it puts them into a good position coming into tomorrow with regards to getting some good quality, experienced overseas players to be able to give that sort of strong Indian core some quality backup. One thing that we have touched on in the past that it seemed to be a miss in the last 3 years with Mumbai was just the real depth of experience and quality on that bench with regards to their overseas players. We know they've got it with their Indian players, but they didn't seem to have it with the overseas players. They went for a young, up-and-coming sort of talented overseas option against going for a proven type player. So it's going to be intriguing to see what type of players they target, but they definitely need to, continue to look at bowling options, both pace and spin.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need a opener wicketkeeper that they usually go for. They've missed out on Ishan Kishan and even Quinton de Kock. They went for him, they didn't get him. So preferably a left-hander to partner Rohit Sharma. I imagine they'll go for Krunal Pandya or Washington Sundar. And then they've got the overseas fast bowlers to shop. So they've got plenty of work to do tomorrow.
When I look through Mumbai's list of near misses, the ones who they were the second last bid for, there is a whole list of spinners. Tikshana,
I want you to say that
Hasaranga,
because
Noor
I'm
Ahmed.
quite interested. Go through that list actually.
So you've got Tikshana, Hasaranga, Noor Ahmed, Harpreet Brar. All spinners for whom they had the second last bid.
Yeah, Brar was also a very late pickup when they saw he's going at a pretty bargain buy. So it tells me all indications are that Hardik wants his brother there. And that tomorrow, Krunal Pandya, who will come in at some point in the early parts of the second day, is certain to be reunited because they go in with a sizable purse. Contrasting to SRH, where both teams went in with a strong retained core and 45 crore. SRH have looked to do a lot of business on day one and have still added another 8 players. And MI, as you pointed out, Yash, have only added another 4.
Yeah.
I thought we saw different MI, not one that was fixated on certain players that they usually are. They let Jofra Archer go, they let Ishan Kishan go. It wouldn't have shocked us if they would have gone a few more bids for those players that I mentioned. I like Trent Bolt returning. I think he's a much more reliable option, tested and tried, and will likely be fit even if you compare him to a Jofra Archer. Robin Minj's story is a very interesting one. If he's indeed going to be the premier wicketkeeper, because suddenly last year with franchises outbidding MI and getting him for nearly 4 crore, the poor chap had an accident.
Yeah.
He's now gone at 30 lakhs without anything really changing between last year and this year. So they've got him, in fact, they've got him at 65 lakhs. Sorry, base price was 30.
Yes.
So whether they're actually going to go with a bit of a wild card as a keeper, time will tell, or are they actually going to pick up someone from, I'm sure they'll pick up a few more keepers, but there's no real standout name. I'd like to see what they do with the premier players of day 2, because that was what you keep a purse for. So Marco Janssen, Sam Curran, to potentially fill up those overseas all-rounders roles. They will look for a finisher lower down, though, like Tim David did. And yeah, I think Krunal, maybe even an Nitish Rana, I can see players like that, Mumbai being very interested on day 2. They've got a lot of work to do, but I think they've told themselves before the auction that we're going to be busy on day 2, and they've stuck to that plan.
Yeah, they also have just the one overseas player out of 9, so watch out for MI when any of those overseas, especially overseas all-rounders come up on day 2. We will turn our attention now to Royal Challengers Bengaluru. Their name has changed. RCB, who entered with the second biggest purse, 83 crore coming into today, then stayed quiet for the longest time, made a few purchases. Tom, intriguing, the right word for RCB's day?
Very intriguing. More to the point where they went close but didn't cross the line with a couple of key bids where really they had the muscle to be able to find another bid or two, but they reluctant to pull the trigger. And yes, they've got some exciting players, but again, it all boasts more so from a batting perspective. The excitement comes. I think Hazelwood's a good pick, though. I think Hazelwood is a quality acquisition there. He's proven IPL. And he's only got better and better at that format. So, yeah, they've still got a lot of work to do, but they've got the purse to be able to do it. But I just felt today it was really a day of missed opportunity for them.
Yeah, and just to back up the missed opportunities, it was in particular among pacers, Kagiso Rabada, Mitchell Starc, later in the day T. Natarajan, all where RCB was second last bids. Clearly, that's an area they've been looking to fill for a while.
Yeah, 100%. The death bowling is something that they've always wanted to have a real control over. And looking at that now, they still have a lot of inexperienced young Indian bowlers. Josh Hazelwood's death bowling is not his primary strength. So I still won't sort of rank him right up there, but they missed out on Starc and Natarajan, I feel, big time. And that was what led to the panic buying of Rasikdar, because they bumped up his price to 6 crore from 2 crore. They went triple the price, and they missed out on Chahal, which means that they had to go for Suyash Sharma, which again in Chinnaswamy is a big gamble with an inexperienced spinner.
Are we surprised by some of the bowlers they opted out of?
I mean, if you ask an RCB fan tonight, would you rather go into day 2 tomorrow, and if you have a look at the players that will be available with 30 crore, or would you actually have gone into day 2 with maybe 15 to 20 crore less, but 2 solid bowling options secured? And just look at Delhi, because those are the 2 that outbid them for both Starc and Natarajan. You throw Starc and Natarajan to that list, and everything else that they've done I can understand. I like that they've been a bit ruthless about the KL Rahul decision, because they would have calculated him somewhere between 14 and 18, and for that amount they've actually got both Phil Salt and Jitesh Sharma around 20, let's say 20, so 22 for the 2 of them. So they've actually filled they've filled up Faf du Plessis and Dinesh Karthik with Phil Salt and Jitesh Sharma, which I think is good business. Throw in Liam Livingston for Glenn Maxwell, and that's pretty, they focused a lot on their batting. I really wish if they would have decided they don't want Yuzvendra Chahal because he's going to be really expensive, that happened. And that's alright, I guess, but you had to have at least one of those things sorted. Either you say we want Chahal no matter what, or we want 2 really reliable death bowling options. I think Sriram's point was bang on. Hazelwood's awesome, but he's not been tested at the Chinnaswamy, which can really be a challenge. I really think an RCB fan would have slept better tonight if one of Natarajan or Starc, if not both, would have made it.
Do want a quick word on the batting, Tom. I noticed through the bids that RCB were going, it looked like from the outside, for only a particular type of batter, the ones very well established for having the dashing abilities. Is that a correct assessment, and where does that leave them as far as their batting lookout is concerned for day 2?
Well, I think they've clearly been fixated on the fact that they felt that they missed, a finisher or a couple of finishers, and now they have definitely got that covered. but they've got the same problem as what they had last year, and that is that they're, very much stack up as a bunch of right-handers. So from an opposition's perspective, you can easily line yourself up against this team with the right bowling changes and try to slow them down or choke them at some stage of the game, particularly if you've got a turning surface. So, to me, they're left a little bit vulnerable with regards to the fact that they all, that top order all sort of boast left-handers. I was really surprised that, Salt is a great pick. Don't get me wrong, but to me, Ishan Kishan would have been a better fit for this team, because it would have given them the keeper, it would have given them the left-hander at the top of the order, a dynamic player, and it would have sort of at least half solved the fact that at least they've got some, left-right hand sort of, flavour at the top of their order.
Those RTM cards that they came in with, they still have those. You see them coming into use? The likes of Faf and Maxwell.
The thing is, once you've got Salt and Livingston and paid good money for them, that's two batters overseas set. Now, you ideally want the balance, and we say this enough times, of not more than two overseas batters. You have Hazelwood, and you're going to try and complement that with an overseas fast bowler, depending on what's available tomorrow. The minute you bring in either a Will Jacks or Faf du Plessis, I don't see it happening. So again, it's curious. I think some of the picks that they ended up with Rasik Salamdar, I think he's a damn good player, but I think Sri called it a bit of a panic buy towards the end. Suyash Sharma too, he's got great heart and fight, but bowling the Chinnaswamy is going to be hard. So yeah, I mean, they've just left a lot of work to do again. Their overseas buys, they only have one overseas fast bowler.
Yeah.
The one thing you would have wanted for RCB was to get as many fast bowling options, quality fast bowling options, and most of the good ones, is it fair to say, Sri ended up coming today and only got Hazelwood.
They went all the way, but they couldn't finish it off.
Yeah, you imagine they're looking at fast bowlers too. With
and sorry, just looking at that list again, yes, those right-handers, they'll have to get an Indian left-hand batter to disrupt it. And how many really good Indian left-handers? That's why Tom's point of Kishan is really valid over here, especially after they decided not to get Pant. They entered today with the second highest purse, and there was a case for them to at least go till the very end. As it turns out, it was Lucknow and Delhi that were left fighting for Pant at the end, and not RCB.
Yeah, quite a seesawing day. They spent a considerable amount at the start with the highest purse, then spent it all together in just a span of about 20-25 minutes. But they do still go into day two with the highest purse at 30.65. We move on now to runners-up from IPL 2024, Sunrisers Hyderabad, who had done so much of their work in the retentions itself. Tom, what stands out?
Well, what stood out for me today was there were some intriguing bids from them that just seemed a little bit sort of unnecessary. It was like, well, why are they bidding for, those players? Because it appeared that, they had that base covered. And one of them they actually got, and that was Ishan Kishan. I just felt that was a real luxury pick from them, given that the strength of their top order and the success of their top order last year, and the coming of age of Abhishek Sharma is a big moment for Sunrisers Hyderabad. That's, investing in a young player and seeing the dividends pay handsomely, and that's just going to continue to happen with him. So, again, Ishan Kishan, a left-hander. You've got then three potential left-handers in their top three batters. Is that going to, pose a problem for them? Time will tell, but, they do look a formidable outfit. They've got some good buys in there as well. That's given them some depth. That Adam Zampa I thought was a good pick, a very cheap pick. Rahul Chahar, another one. So they've got the option of going local or overseas with their spin option. Harshal Patel I thought was a good buy. He'll bowl well at Hyderabad with that sort of off pace, using the big square boundaries. And Mohammad Shami has obviously still got some steam left in the engine, and he will be a terrific new ball bowler. And he'll need to be, because he's replacing Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, who's been a stalwart of Sunrisers Hyderabad for many years and been a very, very successful new ball bowler for them.
The pace complement they've now built up. To Cummins, you add Shami and Harshal. Then you play at least one, if not both, of Chahar or Zampa, depending on combinations. The bowling looks maybe even better than before.
No, I would personally have preferred Natarajan out there because he went for 10.75 and they got Harshal for 8. So it's not a great difference, but their top 6 looks scary because they've added Abhinav Manohar, who's been in very good form in domestic cricket. And if 2 or 3 of their top 6 come off, 200 is not far off.
SRH came in today with about 8 different plans. No, I literally mean I've done the math on this. What happens if they pay 18 for Pant because they did at some point? What happens if they pay? There was an insane amount of money that they put in for Yuzvendra Chahal.
Right at the start of the day, 18 for Arshdeep.
Arshdeep, they went right till the end, and just so they came in with about various plans. And I think they would have loved for Natarajan to come in a bit earlier. There was a bit of panic about what Natarajan could go for, and I'm sure the early trends of the auction also made them think that Natarajan's going to go for something close to Arshdeep. So we could possibly lock in a couple of seamers before that, and they ended up getting Shami and Harshal, which is not the worst business. I think it's good if Shami stays fit. That's the biggie over here. Mohammad Shami they're relying heavily on Mohammad Shami's fitness. So that's the one big takeaway. I thought they made some really good buys towards the end of the day. As you know, the viewers are running out of energy. SRH, I think, was still on the money. Abhinav Manohar for me is an upgrade to Abdul Samad. With due respect to Samad, Manohar's had an excellent Karnataka T20 return, and that's why he's been paid over 3 crore. I like the Chahar and Zampa combination. I think that's an upgrade to Markande and Hasaranga's, although he was in the round last year, but Vias Khan.
Yeah.
So if you compare that, they've got an upgrade there. Simarjit's good player. At 1.5 crore, so he might be the understudy to Shami and come in if Shami can't play 14 games for you. But CSK, he showed glimpses of swinging the ball at pace. So yeah, I think they did some pretty handy business towards the end. I can't make sense of Kishan. I have no idea. He's a terrific player, but I don't know where he fits there.
If they're prepared to pay 18 or 19 for punt, Ishan Kishan, 11.75 is a steal.
I mean, what they're probably saying is if Kishan can do Agarwal and Tripaঠি's job at 11, and he gives me a keeper option in case Klaassen's ever arriving late or not, or not fit in time, not fit for some part of the season. That's the only thing I can think of over here. That we did criticize them that they didn't have experienced and firing Indian players who play to their template. I think Agarwal, Tripathi, they've been around, but they lost some form. Kishan's still got years on him. He's got some mileage on him. So they've decided to go with him. And maybe that will just give Abhishek even more of a license if he ever needed it.
As if he did.
And Travis
There. The big challenge for Sunrisers is going to be the purse. They are comfortably the smallest purse going into day 2, 5.15 crore. And they still have 13 players bought, only 4 of whom are overseas. Let's move now to the ones we thought will make all the headlines. Punjab, who arrived with their 110.5 crore to play with. Where do you stand on Punjab's day, Tom?
Interesting day. I thought the day was made very difficult once they spent so much on Suresh Iyer. You know, that was just an outrageous sum. Clearly 60-70% of that value is the captaincy and the rest is the batter. The batter needs to, upgrade from what we've seen in previous seasons with regards to consistency of runs, but more importantly, just the elevation of strike rate. Arshdeep Singh, we knew that was inevitable, that, he was going to be brought back or right to match purely because, he is part of the backbone of Punjab, but apart from that, I think they've done some reasonably good work today, Punjab. But at times, as per usual, puzzling at the auction table.
Do you agree with that thought?
Yeah, I mean, they've done decent work today. Like they've got Chahal, they've got Arshdeep, they've got Stoinis, they've got Maxwell, and they've got a captain. And they have a Punjab local flavor with Namandir coming in there, and they've got back Harpreet Brar. So, and they've got 2 good young Indian bowlers in Vaishak Vijay Kumar and Yash Thakur, and they seemed very pleased with that Yash Thakur pick, and they were high fives all around.
Yeah. Get on through the list of
Yeah, I didn't. Just on.
Yeah, Tom, please
go on. Tom.
Yeah, just on Yash Thakur. That was an interesting one. I sort of saw the emotion over that one. He's quite a polarizing cricketer, isn't he? What is he? Is he someone that's going to bowl 4 overs for you? Is he someone that's going to be able to have an impact with the bat? So it's going to be very interesting to see how Ricky Ponting uses him.
Okay, I'll run you through that
Yeah,
list.
because I just want to try and...
The players Punjab came close to acquiring: Harry Brook, Devon Conway, Jake Fraser-McGurk, Rachin Ravindra, see a clear pattern there, and then Ishan Kishan, Ashutosh Sharma and Akash Madhwal.
Tough one. I think they had to get Shreyas, because if you don't put Shreyas in that, it looks even more confusing. And the other two sort of sought after players going into the auction were always going to be Pant and KL, and KL was not going back to Punjab. So they were not going to bid for one, which you understand. And Pant ended up being a bit of a crazy situation. Who knows what that RTA, that sort of Lucknow bid would have gone to, even if Lucknow and Punjab were playing at that point. I think they're happy with Shreyas. I think Ricky Ponting wants Shreyas to be captain. So if they could only afford one after RTMing Arshdeep, so be it. There's a lot of players there that Ponting will have to personally take responsibility to get the best of. Glenn Maxwell is one of those players. Yeah. Shreyas is another. I still think they need an overseas bowler to lead that attack. Because Arshdeep is still young, as good as he is, and Yuzvendra Chahal is terrific. I really like anyone who's willing to pay big money for Chahal. So finally we've seen that franchise in the form of Punjab. But they've got to find somebody to lead the attack, and they have a decent amount of money to play with tomorrow. There's a lot of hit and miss in that too. Glenn Maxwell, Prab Simran. Brar is good business to get back. But tomorrow will define Punjab's overall game. I think that they've got Shreyas will make them very comfortable today.
Final thought, Tom. 22.5 crore left, which is still better than at least 7 other teams. Biggest area for Punjab to focus on?
I think Ronak's hit the nail on the head. I think it's an experienced, consistent, quality overseas bowler. But who's left that falls into that category? There's a few that have fallen today under the hammer, but there's a couple left. But it's thin picking, and they're not the only team that needs an overseas fast bowler.
Yep.
You'll have the likes of Kudzia and Lockie Ferguson in the first fast bowler set. A few all-rounders, Sam Curran, Marco Janssen.
They have an RTM left, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do have an RTM left.
I mean,
in fact, they have 3 RTMs left.
Well, I hope they sort of bring in someone like Nathan Ellis back. I know he's not a leader of the pack, but he's a damn good, underrated overseas fast bowler. Other than that, you can't look at a lot of those players. Maybe they'll get Sam Curran back. Yeah. But
Nandre
Berger, the questions about his overall fitness and longevity. Yeah, good player that he is. But yeah, I mean, you let go of Rabada, even though he didn't have the impact for you, but you need to have someone to play that role. So I'm interested to see. I think a lot will depend on just how Punjab finish off the job on day 2. For now, it's Shreyas and Chahal are big wins for them. Now let's see what they do on day 2.
Okay. We shift focus to Delhi Capitals now. Delhi Capitals, who had their 4 retentions coming in, which left them with a decent enough purse. Tom, we've already touched upon how good the bowling is, but just wrap Delhi's day once again for us, the standouts and where they need to work on.
Yeah, I think they've had a pretty good day. They've picked up some good bargain picks. Their batting looks very solid, and there's a lot of young talent there as well. KL Rahul's I think a good pick at 14 crore. He's more than likely going to captain that side. You can guarantee your 500 plus runs at him at the top of the order. You've got the flair of a Fraser McGurk to partner him at the top of the order. You've got the quality and class of Brook that I can't help but think he's only going to get better and better. I thought Natarajan was a smart pick, particularly at that venue where you need good defensive bowlers. Mitchell Stark was a good pick at that price. I thought that was an absolute steal. So I think they're in a pretty good position. It was interesting to see how hard that they fought for Mohit Sharma as well. Sort of right towards the back end there. He's a veteran of the IPL. He was given a lifeline by Gujarat, but he's still got plenty of life in him, obviously.
Look through those first few buys they made today, and everyone feels like an automatic short contender for the first 11. Solid from Delhi.
Yeah, pretty good. I think Mitch Stark and Natarajan were two of the highlight picks for me. Very good in Kotla. Ashutosh Sharma again. Tom's spoken about Harry Brook and everyone, McGurk, but Ashutosh Sharma is a good pick again to use as an impact player. So you can come in at 7 after Akshar Patel and do a job for you with the big sixes in a boundary hitting ground. So overall, I think Delhi's had a good day.
Yeah, it's interesting that I now look back at their squad and I think they've had a good day as well. Whereas when they were picking at the time, I was wondering, right, is this a good fit or not? Close your eyes and imagine KL Rahul at Delhi, Harry Brook, and you still had some doubts in your mind. I mean, I think I respect Tom's view that Brook is going to get better, but the safe approach in the IPL is always players who've already performed in the IPL rather than players you hope will perform in the IPL. But yeah, they already have stubs there. I think they need to find an all-rounder, a quality all-rounder, perhaps overseas. They've got some good batting in the all-rounders with Fraser McGurk, Harry Brook, and Tristan Stubbs, who they retained. They've got to find someone to give them perhaps a little bit of flexibility in selection. Like the fact that they went for Ashutosh Sharma, Samir Rizvi, the two more higher profile finishers from an Indian domestic point of view. Mohit Sharma is good. If you look at it, they actually have 20 overs locked there. Aksar, Kuldeep, Stark, Natarajan, Mohit Sharma. Assuming Mohit Sharma can give you the returns from last year. So yeah, just someone to complement that side will be a couple of all-rounders if they can get them there.
Yeah, and also I think for a coach like Hemang Padani, they've got the right personalities that he's got to deal with. There's no difficult personalities that he's got to handle. Everybody is pretty sorted and straightforward.
I want your list of difficult personalities.
I'll give that to you later.
Yeah, the thing that stood out and it struck me much later on auction day is that those three Indian players that everyone was talking about who would fetch bumper days, Shreyas, Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul, Delhi were the penultimate bids on both Iyer and Pant, and then eventually secured KL Rahul at fourth.
Yeah, and I think KL's story is that he's come 12th today. I would have wanted to see if we turned it around, whether there would have been a bigger price, whether he would have ended up somewhere else. Maybe Delhi had him at a certain cap, but had he come in earlier, could that have been different? I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, it's interesting how Rahul's ended up with. I think we did expect Rahul to get the least of the three. A number of us did as well. But yeah.
Yeah, but I think they wanted Shreyas Iyer badly, and Rahul's sort of their second in line and backup option, it looked like.
Yeah, Delhi LSG is a fun game next season. With Rahul here and Pant there.
The reverse derby. Yeah. All right. Next up, Chennai Super Kings, who've gone about getting a fair few reunions. Tom, CSK, pleased?
Yeah, I think CSK have had a pretty good day. They're pretty shrewd when it comes to auctions. They keep it pretty simple. As you touched on there, they try to keep a little bit of a familiar theme to how they go about it. They like mature players. They like players that have worn yellow before. A couple of standout picks for me. Noor Ahmed's going to be intriguing to see him bowl down in Chennai. Tripathi, I thought, was a steal at the price that he got picked up at. Dynamic player. I suppose the one question mark is both Conway and Ravindra. I just don't think they needed both of them. But then again, you could argue that they got them both at a reasonable price. So it all worked out well at the end.
Spinner's always a big topic for Chennai Super Kings. You've got Ashwin coming at his all-time highest IPL auction price.
Turning track at Chepauk. Yes.
That ticks an important box. Ashwin and Noor Ahmed, is that a box you're happy with?
Yeah, Ashwin Jadeja and Noor Ahmed, yes, definitely. It's a threatening combination to have at Chepauk if the surface is right.
Yeah, 38 crore spent on spin with counting Jadeja with Ashwin and Noor Ahmed. That might be a bit of a record. The CSK package deal at the top of the order was so much more appealing when one, if not two, came at very low prices. Like Conway and Rachin Ravindra did. It cost them 2.8 crore for the last cycle. And like Tom says, this season is going to cost them about 10.
Yeah.
With 6.25 for Conway and a little over 4 it was for Rachin.
Yeah, 10.25 between them, 6.25 and 4.
So
Yeah.
that's where I agree completely with Tom, that they've spent 10 on almost certainly one of those two players that will play regularly and not both, unless they have some other plans that we can't predict at this point. Maybe Rachin will play the floating role or the Moeen role. Who knows going forward? They already have Patirana as a lock-in. Noor Ahmed was a fascinating double RTM final bid, which even had Ashish Nehra laughing, not out of any disrespect. I think he was also surprised. He didn't see this coming, right? So if they're going for a Noor Ahmed, they've let go of Theekshana, they see him as a high-value player. I mean, how much spin, even at the Chepauk, can you really play to? You will lose tosses there. There will be dew. Your own batters will have to face spin of the opposition. India have found out that overplaying your strengths to spin at home is not necessarily a success mantra. But I will never write off CSK. I've learned the hard way. So they know what they're doing. And I think Tripathi and Vijay Shankar are so typically CSK. They're done with, as discussing with a colleague of ours, they're done with Project Rahane and Project Dubey. And now it's over to Project Vijay Shankar and Project Rahul Tripathi.
Yes, and we'll see if they add any more projects. 15.6 crore left in the tank for CSK.
Still need a new ball bowler.
Yeah. I mean, unless they've locked in Ashwin to do one job, because you have so much spin.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, no, you're right. They have some work to do tomorrow. Khalil's there.
Yeah,
Khalil Ahmed's a solid new ball option for them. I think Tom made the point that of all the venues Khalil would go to, this is a bit of a surprise. But we've seen the likes of Deepak Chahar and Mukesh Chaudhary and even some of the other guys get swing there. So
Tushar Deshpande.
Okay. Finally, we turn our attention. If I've done my math right, we are on to team number 10, Lucknow Super Giants. I have confirmation that I have got the math right. Lucknow Super Giants, first remaining 14.85. Their day started off with the bang. Tom, getting Rishabh Pant right at the start. What do you make of how it's finished?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? We were a little bit not so much shocked that they got punt, but then they backed that up with the fact that they got Miller as well. So they've got three strong left-handers in Puran, Punt, and Miller in the middle order. It's a formidable lineup, but they'll have to sort of throw a right-hander in there to sort of mix things up a little bit, and it's going to be intriguing to see where they all fit into the puzzle of the top six. You've got a couple of solid, backup. I would have thought at this stage reserves in Marsh and Markram. But overall, I think they've got some work to do tomorrow. I think they, from a bowling standpoint, I think they've got some unfinished business.
Yeah. You brought up the point, I think, towards the start of the evening that almost every title-winning side over the last few seasons has had two overseas bowlers. This is a side right now which has no overseas bowlers.
Yes. And that's something I've always mentioned to them, even that they need a leader in their bowling attack. And they've missed that, I think, over the last few seasons. So definitely they missed out on Jofra Archer.
Yeah.
So they've got work to do tomorrow. And I don't see any really experienced leader of a fast bowling pack coming up tomorrow.
Would you call Avesh Khan a leader of the attack?
Not really.
Yeah, I think that's the big question. So if you're not, then there's still a lot more work to do. Yeah, I mean, the overseas fast bowling department is still very much vacant, because all the big money has been spent or retained with Nicholas Puran, Miller, Markram and Marsh are very interesting buys today. Would you have rather, when you had Puran retained and you've got Pant at big money, would you rather have actually gone for some of the overseas quicks today and looked at then the likes of your Marshes and Markrams to be picked up tomorrow, and fill those back brackets? Because like Tom says, they're reserve players at best. Who were there missed out overseas quicks, Yash, today? Archer was
surprisingly, I thought there'd be many, but the ones who they were second last on was only Nokia. They backed out a little earlier when it came to Archer and some of the others. Nokia was the penultimate bid, and the other players for whom they were second last was Butler, Khalil Ahmed and Rahul Chahar.
Yeah, I think Zaid Khan has had some influence over here in terms of what he wants done on day one and what he's happy to then, let go of. And he perhaps rates the combination of Avesh Khan, Mayank Yadav, Mohsin Khan is good enough for him as to form a structure, along with Bishnoi, to form a structure of their bowling. So
a little bit of intelligence tells me that they're looking for Bhuvaneshwar Kumar as well tomorrow.
Yeah. So if they go for then,
All
once
India.
the auction's a bit exhausted, they'd rather than pick up guys like, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Akash Deep, Deepak Chahar, these guys are all going to be in play tomorrow. So if they feel like there's enough in the tank over there on day 2, then fair game to them. But Pant is a big story from their point of view. I don't know how many of us foresaw Pant to LSG. We were all kind of fixated with Pant to either Punjab, Pant to Bangalore.
RCB, yeah.
Those were the kind of two moves because they had the maximum.
But they had
cost.
69 crores coming
They did.
in.
They did. Yeah.
That was still a far cry from 83 and 110. So
Yeah, I think that's what we figured here. Like, if you have 69 crore, are you willing to pay what 27 must be more than a third of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're paying more than a third of your balance purse on Rishabh Pant when you had Nicholas Puran. But yeah, I mean the prospect of them batting together is mouth-watering. Pant will probably lead as well. So I think that they came in today to make a statement. I think at the auction, and they made one with the acquisition of Pant. But as far as balance of a squad goes, still work to do, I think, on day 2.
They completely elevated the profile of this new RTM rule with that big jump from 20.75 to 27 to acquire Rishabh Pant. Let's take a look at where all 10 teams stand at the end of proceedings on day 1. 470 odd crore has been spent, and you will go into the final day with RCB enjoying a lead as far as purse remaining is concerned, as they tend to a lot of times in auctions. 30.65 crore they have to play with. Mumbai Indians are second on 26.1, followed by Punjab at 22.5. When it comes to the smallest purses, there's Hyderabad right at the bottom with 5.1. KKR at 10.05. There's still so much to be done. I think the count is around 80 players, or less than 80 players who've been bought on day 1. So there is still a whole lot to be done. A whole lot could still be asked, but we will call time right now in the interest of a test match, which is also starting in a few hours,
Yeah.
which Tom Moody will be calling in a few hours. And now I'm sure Tom, like most in India, will be willing on that test match to finish very soon so that you can catch a break before you join us back for auction coverage.
Well, it's certainly looking like it's going to finish early, the way it started in the 4th inning. So, yeah, look, India have bossed this game. Certainly didn't look like it after their first innings, but after Australia found themselves in no man's land, 7 down very quickly, it was always going to be a tough recovery. And then India batted out of their skins in the 2nd innings.
It's not raining in Perth, is it, Tom?
Oh gosh, it's not going to rain until April next year.
Yeah, we've got Sri also has to be back here in the Star Tamil
Absolutely.
studios.
Absolutely. So, without further ado, we will hope for a very early finish. Thank you, Raunak.
Cheers, Yash. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sri.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tom.
Pleasure.
We will see you again.
Pleasure.
Auction day 2. Let's see what's in store. Be sure to join our coverage as soon as half an hour before the auction kicks off on ESPN Cricket for Auction Day, powered by Maruti Suzuki Arena.
Presenting the dazzling new Desire, the best and beyond.